You think winning a medal will fix the emptiness, until the night your rival shows up at your door soaked in rain, asking for something you never thought he'd need: your comfort. That was the night everything I thought I knew about us shattered. Back then, the pool was our battlefield. The water knew our rage, our pride, and our desperation to come out on top. He was the golden boy, Ethan Reed, the swimmer with the perfect form, the captain everyone admired, the one I was measured against every single day. And me? I was the shadow they compared him to, the runner-up, the guy with a chip on his shoulder and a heart that beat faster whenever his name was announced. I told myself it was hate, but hate doesn't make your chest tighten when he laughs. Hate doesn't leave you memorizing the way his shoulders cut through water. Hate doesn't feel like drowning every time he brushes past you in the locker room and doesn't even look your way. So maybe it was never hate. Maybe it was something else I was too scared to admit. The season was brutal. Nationals loomed over us like a storm cloud. Every practice felt like war, and every second shaved off the clock was a weapon. Ethan swam like he was born to win. I swam like I had something to prove. And still, every time the scoreboard put his name above mine. Until one night. It was late, close to midnight. The rain outside hammered the dorm windows like it wanted in. I was half asleep, exhausted from another day of training and pretending not to care that Ethan had, once again, beaten me in front of the team. Then came the knock. 3 sharp raps on my door. Urgent. Relentless. I groaned, dragging myself up, expecting some drunk teammate or a RA checking rooms. But when I swung the door open, it wasn't either. It was him, Ethan Reed, standing there in a soaked hoodie, rain dripping from his blonde hair, chest heaving like he'd run through a storm just to get here. His blue eyes, usually sharp and cold, looked broken. "Can I come in?" he asked, voice low, almost desperate. And just like that, the rivalry, the bitterness, the endless fights over times and titles, none of it mattered. Because for the first time, Ethan wasn't my opponent. He was just a boy in the rain, and he needed me. At first, I thought it was some kind of sick joke. Ethan didn't come to people for help, least of all me. But when his shoulders slumped and he whispered, "Please," something inside me cracked. I let him in. He peeled off his hoodie, leaving a damp white t-shirt clinging to his body. My eyes betrayed me, tracing the lines of muscle I knew so well from years of swimming side by side. I turned away too quickly, pretending to dig for a towel. "Here," I muttered, handing it to him without looking. "Thanks," he said softly, rubbing his hair. The silence stretched between us, heavy and strange. Finally, I asked, "What are you doing here, Reed?" He hesitated. And in that pause, I realized something was wrong. Not the usual kind of wrong, something deeper. "I couldn't stay in my room," he admitted. His voice cracked. "It's complicated." Complicated. That was Ethan's favorite word when he didn't want to explain himself. But the way his eyes glistened, the way his hands trembled, this wasn't about arrogance or secrets. This was pain. And I hated how much I wanted to reach out, to steady him. Instead, I crossed my arms. "So you came to me?" Out of all people. His lips twitched, almost a smirk, but it fell flat. "You're the only one who sees me, really sees me, even if you hate me." That hit harder than it should have. I didn't hate him. God, I wish I did. It would have made everything easier. I sighed, collapsing onto the edge of my bed. "You're impossible." "I know." His voice softened. "But can I stay? Just for tonight?" And that was the moment my life changed. Because I said yes. The storm raged outside while Ethan Reed lay inches away from me, wrapped in one of my blankets. I could feel the heat radiating from his body, hear every breath he took in the quiet of my small dorm room. Sleep was impossible. My mind raced with questions, with years of anger and confusion, with the truth I'd buried under competition and pride. But then he whispered in the dark, "Do you ever get tired of pretending?" My throat tightened. "Pretending what?" "That you don't care," he said. "About winning. About me." I froze. My chest pounded so hard I was sure he could hear it. "What are you talking about?" "You're always chasing me, always trying to beat me. And I act like I don't notice. But I do. I notice everything about you. The words hung in the air like lightning. Dangerous. Electrifying. And for the first time, I couldn't run from it. Because maybe, just maybe, he felt it too. The next morning, everything should have gone back to normal. Ethan should have left before sunrise, slipping out like nothing happened. But when I opened my eyes, he was still there, sitting on the floor with his back against my bed, staring out the window at the wet campus. "Why are you still here?" I asked, my voice rough with sleep. He looked at me, and something in his expression was different. Softer. Vulnerable. "Because for once," he said quietly, "I don't want to be alone." And that was the beginning of something we couldn't name yet. Something that would tear us apart before it put us back together. That week, practice was a minefield. No one knew about that night, but every time our eyes met across the pool, it felt like a secret burning under my skin. His gaze lingered too long. My chest tightened too easily. We were rivals. Enemies, even. But in the water, there was something else now, something sharper than competition, something dangerous. Coach barked times, teammates joked, the world spun like normal. But I couldn't stop replaying his words. "I notice everything about you." And God help me, I wanted him to notice more. But the universe doesn't make things easy. Especially not for us. The closer nationals drew, the worse it got. The pressure. The expectations. The weight of being who we were. Ethan Reed, the untouchable golden boy, and me, the challenger no one believed in. Rumors spread like wildfire. People whispered about Ethan's late-night disappearances, about how distracted I seemed. Some said I was obsessed with him. They weren't wrong. And then, one night, everything snapped. We were in the locker room, just the two of us, after everyone else had left. The air was thick with chlorine and tension. I slammed my locker shut, unable to hold it in anymore. "What the hell are we doing, Ethan?" I demanded. He froze, halfway through pulling on his jacket. "What do you mean?" "This," I said, gesturing between us. "You show up at my door, you stay the night, you say things that..." My voice cracked. "And then you act like nothing happened. Like I imagined it." His jaw tightened. "Maybe it's better that way." "Better for who?" I snapped. "For you so you can keep being perfect? Or for me, so I can keep being the guy who almost beats you?" Silence. The kind that hurts more than words. Finally, he said, "You don't get it. If people knew, if anyone knew, it would ruin everything." And there it was. The truth I'd been too afraid to face. We weren't just rivals. We were two boys caught between desire and fear, between the world's expectations and our own hearts. And the cost of wanting him might be everything. The silence after Ethan's words weighed on me heavier than any medal or loss ever had. It wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. Like admitting the truth meant opening a wound he couldn't let anyone see. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake him, tell him that we couldn't keep pretending. But my throat locked, and all I managed was a whisper. "You think I don't already feel ruined?" He looked at me then, really looked, and for a second I thought he'd reach out, touch me, say something that would change everything. Instead, he grabbed his bag and left without another word. The slam of the door echoed long after he was gone. The days blurred after that. We practiced, we swam, we ate in the same cafeteria, but we didn't talk. The space between us, once charged with unspoken tension, became a chasm. I hated him for it. I hated myself more. But desire doesn't fade just because you want it to. It gnaws at you, a current beneath the surface, pulling you closer no matter how hard you fight. And with nationals less than 2 weeks away, everything was coming to a boil. Coach noticed. "You're off." He barked at me during a set, clipboard smacking against his palm. "Your turns are sloppy. Your head's not in it." I didn't answer. Couldn't. Because my head wasn't in it. It was 3 lanes over, watching Ethan glide through the water like he belonged to it. Later, in the locker room, one of the guys clapped me on the back. "You okay, man? You look like you've seen a ghost." I forced a laugh. "Yeah, just tired." But the truth was, I had seen a ghost. And his name was Ethan Reed. One night, after another grueling practice, I stayed behind to swim laps alone. The pool was quiet, the air heavy with chlorine and loneliness. Stroke after stroke, I pushed myself until my muscles screamed, until I could almost forget him. Almost. When I finally stopped, gasping at the edge of the lane, I heard footsteps. "You're going to drown yourself one of these days," Ethan's voice said, low and cautious. I turned, water dripping from my hair, and glared. "Why do you care?" He walked closer, shadows playing across his face. "Because I do." Something inside me snapped. I hauled myself out of the pool, water cascading off my skin, and stood inches from him. "Then stop pretending you don't," I shot back. His breath hitched. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he said, "I can't." The restraint in his eyes killed me. So I did what I'd been too scared to do for years. I leaned in. My lips brushed his, tentative, like testing the water before diving in. For half a heartbeat, he froze, and then kissed me back. It was fire and salt water, hunger and relief, the crash of two tides colliding. His hands gripped my shoulders, pulling me closer like he'd drown if he let go. I lost myself in him, in the taste of rain and chlorine, in the years of anger that melted into something far more dangerous. When we finally broke apart, gasping, reality slammed back in. "This is insane," he whispered. "Yeah," I said, "but so is lying." We stood there, hearts racing, the air electric. But before I could say more, he stepped back, panic flickering in his eyes. "I can't do this," he said, voice breaking. And then he was gone, leaving me drenched, breathless, and more alone than ever. The kiss haunted me. Every stroke in the pool, every lap, every sleepless night I felt it. I replayed it. I wanted more. But Ethan avoided me like I was poison. In practice, he kept his distance. In the cafeteria, he sat at the opposite end. It was like he'd erased me from his world. And maybe he could. But I couldn't. The week of nationals arrived. The team bus hummed with nervous energy as we drove through the night to the hotel. Everyone cracked jokes, shared snacks, blasted music. But Ethan and I, we didn't say a word. That night I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, the weight of everything pressing down. Finally, I got up, slipped on a hoodie, and wandered the hotel halls. That's when I saw him, Ethan, alone, sitting on the carpet outside his room, head in his hands. I hesitated, heart pounding. Then, before I could stop myself, I walked over. "You always pick the worst places to fall apart," I said softly. He looked up, startled. His eyes were red, like he'd been crying. "Ethan Reed perfect, untouchable Ethan Reed crying. Go back to bed," he muttered. "Not until you tell me what's going on." He shook his head. "You wouldn't understand. Try me." Silence stretched. Then he whispered, "My dad's here." I blinked. "What?" "He came to watch nationals," Ethan said bitterly. "First time in years. And you know what he told me? That if I don't win, I'm not his son." The words hit me like a punch. Suddenly, everything made sense, the pressure, the fear, the perfection Ethan carried like a curse. I sat down beside him. "Ethan," he laughed, hollow. "Guess now you know why I can't afford us." The word cut deep. I wanted to tell him he was wrong, that winning or losing didn't matter, that he wasn't alone. Instead, I touched his hand. Just a brush of fingers, hidden in the dark hallway. He didn't pull away. For once, he let himself lean on me, his head dropping against my shoulder. And in that moment, I knew I'd do anything to protect him, even if it meant breaking my own heart. Nationals were chaos. The arena buzzed with energy, cameras flashing, announcers shouting. Our team huddled, nerves coiling tight. Coach gave his usual pep talk, but his words blurred in my ears. All I could see was Ethan. When his name was called, the crowd roared. He stepped onto the block, calm and collected, but I saw the truth in his clenched jaw, in the slight tremor of his hands. And then it was my turn. The race was a blur of water and adrenaline. Every muscle burned, every breath was fire. Ethan was beside me, stroke for stroke, neither of us giving an inch. It wasn't about medals anymore. It was about survival. About proving something to ourselves, to each other. When we touched the wall, I looked up at the scoreboard. Ethan, first place. Me, second. By half a second. The crowd erupted. Our team cheered. But all I felt was emptiness. Ethan climbed out of the pool, mask of triumph plastered on his face. Cameras flashed. Reporters swarmed. His dad watched from the stands, arms crossed, expression unreadable. And me? I slipped away, the silver medal heavy around my neck, my chest heavier still. That night, the victory party raged. Music thumped, drinks flowed, teammates laughed. I stayed in the corner, nursing a soda, pretending to celebrate. Then Ethan found me. He pulled me outside, into the cool night air. His face was pale, his eyes haunted. I did it, he said flatly. I won. He shook my hand. Told me I was finally worth something. I stared at him, anger bubbling. Worth something? You've always been worth more than his approval. He flinched. You don't get it. No, you don't get it. I snapped. You keep killing yourself for a man who doesn't see you. And the worst part? You're pushing away the one person who does. His eyes glistened. You? Yes, me. My voice cracked. I see you, Ethan. The real you. And I stopped, breath catching. I can't keep pretending I don't care. The silence between us was unbearable. Then, slowly, he reached for my hand. I care too, he whispered. More than I should. And just like that, the wall crumbled. He kissed me again, desperate, like he'd been holding it back all night. This time, there was no pulling away, no denial, just us under the stars finally giving in. But happiness is fragile. 2 days later, the whispers started. Someone had seen us slip out together. Someone else claimed they caught us holding hands. The rumors spread fast, locker room talk, snickers in the hall, side eyes from teammates. Coach called me into his office. His face was tight, voice clipped. Whatever's going on between you and Reed, it ends now. Understood. My stomach dropped. Don't lie to me, he snapped. You think the boosters, the board, the scouts will tolerate a scandal? You'll ruin your futures. Both of you. Scandal. That's what he called it. Like love was some dirty secret. I left his office shaking, torn between fury and fear. And when I told Ethan, he went pale. They'll cut me off, he whispered. The scholarships, the sponsorships, everything. My dad will disown me for real. So what? I demanded. Let him. Let them. We'll figure it out together. But he shook his head, tears brimming. I can't lose everything. And in that moment, I realized was choosing fear. Choosing them. Not me. That night, he didn't come to my room. And I didn't go to his. The space between us had never felt wider. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. Not yet. Because you can bury love. You can run from it, hide it, deny it. But you can't kill it. And sooner or later, it comes back. Rumors are like wildfire, they don't need truth to burn everything down. By the time we got back to campus, whispers had turned into full-blown stories. Some said Ethan and I had been caught kissing in the locker room. Others swore they'd seen us sneaking out of the hotel together. None of it could be proven, but none of it had to be. In college sports, gossip spreads faster than chlorine in water. First, I tried to ignore it. Kept my head down, trained harder, told myself it didn't matter. But it did. I heard the laughter behind my back, the slurs muttered under breath, the sudden silence whenever I walked into a room. And Ethan was worse. He buried himself in perfection. Trained longer, harder, pushed himself until his knuckles bled from the edge of the pool. He laughed louder at teammates' jokes, flirted with girls at parties, plastered on his golden boy smile until it cracked at the edges. He was drowning, and I wasn't allowed to save him. One afternoon, after practice, I found him sitting alone in the locker room, head in his hands. You can't keep doing this, I said quietly. His eyes flicked up, hollow. Doing what? Pretending. Killing yourself to prove you're not what they say. He stood abruptly, grabbing his bag. You don't get it. If I slip, Even once, it's over. For me. For us. There is no us. Remember? I shot back, bitterness lacing my words. The hurt in his eyes gutted me. But before either of us could say more, the door slammed open. 3 teammates walked in, laughing. The laughter stopped when they saw us standing too close, tension crackling between us. One of them, Jake, smirked. Well, what do we have here? Ethan stepped back instantly, mask snapping into place. Nothing, he said coolly. Just leaving. He brushed past them, leaving me alone with their stares. Jake leaned against the lockers. You know, rumors are one thing, but when the golden boy keeps sneaking off with his rival, people start to wonder. I clenched my fists, heat rising in my chest. Mind your own damn business. They laughed, but the sound was sharp, ugly. Relax, we're just messing with you, one said. But the way they looked at me like I was less than human said otherwise. The weeks that followed were hell. Coach benched me for a meet to let things cool down. Invitations to team hangouts dried up. My friends stopped calling. Even professors gave me wary looks, as if the gossip had reached their ears too. And Ethan? He kept his distance. Every stolen glance in the pool, every word left unsaid, was a knife in my chest. But late one night, he showed up again. I was half asleep when the knock came. For a second, I thought I was dreaming. But when I opened the door, there he was, Ethan, drenched in sweat instead of rain this time, eyes wild. Can I come in? He asked, voice trembling. I hesitated. Why? So you can leave again tomorrow like nothing happened. Please. His voice cracked. I stepped aside. He paced my room like a caged animal, running his hands through his hair. Finally, he stopped and blurted, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pretending you don't matter. The words hit me like a punch. I wanted to believe him. God, I did. But I crossed my arms, guarding my heart. So what's changed? My dad's gone. Back home. Nationals are over. The pressure, he broke off, shaking his head. None of it matters compared to you. My chest ached. You don't get to say that, not after everything. I know, he whispered. I was scared. I am scared. But losing you terrifies me more than losing everything else. The dam inside me broke. I pulled him in, crashing my lips against his, anger and longing spilling out in equal measure. He kissed me back, desperate, like he'd been starving for this too. We stumbled to the bed, tangled in sheets and secrets, finally letting ourselves feel what we'd buried for so long. For once, there was no fear, no world outside those 4 walls. Just us. And in the aftermath, with his head resting on my chest, he whispered, I love you. My breath caught. It was the first time either of us had said it out loud. I love you too. I whispered back, my throat thick. It should have been perfect. But happiness never lasts long for people like us. The next morning, everything fell apart. Someone had taken photos. Blurry, grainy shots of Ethan sneaking into my room. Of us through the half-open blinds. They spread through the team like wildfire, then across campus. By afternoon, the entire school knew. Faggots. Disgrace to the team. Guess that's why you were always chasing him. Huh? The slurs, the taunts, the looks, I could handle them. I'd been hardened by years of being the underdog. But Ethan? He crumbled. His sponsorship pulled out within days. His dad left him voicemails dripping with venom. Coach called him into the office and told him he'd ruined his future. And through it all, Ethan shut me out. This is my fault, he muttered when I tried to reach him. I dragged you into this. No, I said fiercely. We're in this together. But he shook his head. You don't understand. Without swimming, I'm nothing. I've built my whole life on being perfect, and now it's gone. My chest ached. You're not nothing, Ethan. I can't. He cut me off. His voice broke. I can't be with you. Not like this. Not when it costs me everything. Felt like drowning. I wanted to fight, to scream, to hold on to him with everything I had. But his eyes full of guilt and fear told me the truth. He was letting me go. The weeks that followed were a blur. Ethan avoided me completely. He stopped showing up to practice, skipped classes, disappeared into himself. I tried to move on, tried to focus on my own races, my own future. But nothing filled the void he left. Until one night, I found him sitting by the pool alone, staring into the still water. He looked thinner, paler, like the weight of the world had crushed him. "You shouldn't be here," he said without looking at me. "Neither should you," I replied, sitting beside him. For a long time we said nothing, just the sound of water lapping against the tiles. Finally, I whispered, "You don't have to keep punishing yourself." He laughed bitterly. "Don't I? Everyone's right. I let them down. My dad, the team, you never let me down," I interrupted. My voice shook, but I meant it. "You broke my heart, yeah, but you never let me down. Because all I ever wanted was you. Not the medals, not the reputation, just you." He turned, eyes glassy. "And if I can't give you that, then I'll wait," I said. "As long as it takes. Because I know you, Ethan. You'll keep running until you realize the only place you belong is here." His lips parted like he wanted to argue, but no words came. Instead, he whispered, "I'm so scared." I reached for his hand. "So am I. But maybe we don't have to be scared alone." For the first time in weeks, he let me hold him. And in that quiet moment by the pool, I realized this wasn't the end. Not yet. But things had to get worse before they could get better. 2 days later, the athletic board called a meeting. Rumors had reached the administration. There were talks of suspensions, of stripping scholarships. Ethan didn't show up. I did. When they asked about the photos, about the rumors, I didn't lie. "Yes," I said, my voice steady. "We're together." Gasps rippled through the room. Someone muttered, "Disgraceful." But I didn't flinch. For the first time, I wasn't afraid. Because loving Ethan Reed wasn't disgraceful. It was the bravest thing I'd ever done. The fallout was brutal. Headlines, online forums, strangers dissecting our lives. But amidst the chaos, something unexpected happened. Support. Students who'd never spoken to me stopped me on campus to say they were proud. Professors emailed to say they had my back. Even some teammates, the ones I thought had turned against me, offered quiet words of solidarity. The tide was turning, slowly, but Ethan didn't see it. Not yet. He was still trapped in fear, in the shadow of his father's voice, in the belief that love made him weak. And I knew the final battle wasn't against the school or the team or the world. It was against himself. Ethan didn't show up for days after the board meeting. Classes came and went, practices blurred by, but his seat in the lecture hall stayed empty, his lane in the pool untouched. Every night I checked my phone, hoping for a message that never came. Every morning, I told myself I wouldn't keep waiting, that I had to let him go. And every morning, my heart betrayed me. It wasn't until Friday night that the knock came. I opened the door, and there he was, Ethan, pale and exhausted, dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't slept in weeks. His clothes hung looser, his hair unkempt. But his eyes, they were raw, desperate, pleading. "Can I come in?" he asked softly. My chest ached. "Always." He stepped inside, pacing the small space like he didn't know where to put himself. Finally, he stopped and looked at me, voice trembling. "I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" I asked, careful. "Live without fear," he admitted. "Be with you without looking over my shoulder. Stand up and tell the world the truth." His throat worked. Every time I think I'm ready, I hear my dad's voice or coaches, or the guys on the team, and I freeze. I swallowed hard. "You think I'm not scared too? But maybe the difference is I'd rather face the whole damn world with you than face a lifetime without you." His lip quivered, and for the first time in months, Ethan Reed cried openly. Not silent tears he tried to hide, but raw, shaking sobs that tore through the walls he'd built. I pulled him in, holding him as tight as I could. "You don't have to be perfect, Ethan. Not with me." He buried his face in my shoulder. "But what if I'm not enough?" "You are," I said fiercely. "You've always been enough. You just have to believe it." The days after that were slow steps toward something new. Ethan started showing up again, first in classes, then in practice. People still whispered, still stared, but this time he didn't run. He kept his head up, even when his hands trembled. We trained side by side again, not as rivals but as something else, something stronger. One afternoon, Coach pulled us both aside. His face was tight, his voice clipped, but there was something almost grudging in his tone. The boards decided not to suspend either of you. Too much media attention. They don't want the backlash. Relief washed through me, but Ethan only nodded, jaw clenched. Coach's eyes flicked between us. You've put me in a tough position, but if you're going to keep swimming here, then you damn well better prove you deserve it. Not with medals, with heart. For once, I saw respect in his eyes. A small crack in the wall. It all came down to the final meet of the season. Not nationals, not some grand stage, just a state-level meet. But for us, it meant everything. The stands were packed, the pool buzzing with energy. As I warmed up, I felt the old nerves clawing at me. But when I looked across the deck and saw Ethan calm, steady, focused, I felt something else. Not fear, not rivalry, hope. When it was time for our event, we stepped onto the blocks side by side. The crowd roared, the whistle blew, and for the first time in years, I didn't see Ethan as my enemy. I saw him as my partner. The race was brutal, every muscle screaming, every breath fire. But it wasn't about beating him anymore. It was about swimming free. When we touched the wall, I looked up at the scoreboard. Ethan first, Mez second, same as always. But when we climbed out of the pool, something was different. Ethan turned, grabbed my hand in front of everyone, and raised it high. The crowd erupted, not in jeers, not in boos, but in cheers. Real, thunderous cheers. I stared at him, stunned. "What are you doing?" I whispered. His eyes burned with conviction. What I should have done from the start. And then, right there on the pool deck, under the blinding lights and flashing cameras, Ethan Reed kissed me. The world didn't end. Oh, there was backlash, angry headlines, hateful comments, sponsors pulling out. But there was also love. Messages from strangers thanking us for being brave. Parents telling us their kids finally felt seen. Teammates who admitted they'd been scared too. And most importantly, Ethan changed. Slowly, painfully, but he changed. He stopped chasing perfection. He stopped letting his father's voice define him. He started choosing himself. Choosing us. It wasn't easy. Some nights he broke down, afraid of the future. Some days the weight of the world felt unbearable. But we carried it together. And little by little, we built something no medal could ever compare to. Months later, we sat on the edge of the pool long after practice had ended, feet dangling in the water. "Do you ever think about how it started?" Ethan asked, smiling faintly. I smirked. "Which part? The years of hating each other, or the night you showed up at my door soaking wet?" He laughed, the sound warm and real. "Both." I nudged him with my shoulder. "I think about it every day." He grew quiet, eyes on the water. "Sometimes I wonder if I ruined your life." "You didn't," I said firmly. "You saved it." He turned to me, searching my face. "How?" "Because before you, all I cared about was winning. Beating you. Proving I was enough. But you," my throat tightened. "You showed me that I didn't have to fight alone. That love isn't about winning or losing. It's about choosing. And I'll choose you every time." His eyes glistened. Then he leaned in, pressing his forehead against mine. "I'll choose you too. Always." We didn't win every race after that. We didn't silence every critic or fix the world overnight. But we didn't have to, because we had each other. And in the end, that was the real victory. Years later, when I think back, I don't remember the medals or the times on the scoreboard. I remember the rain-soaked night he knocked on my door. I remember the first kiss by the pool, the whispers in the dark, the moment he finally held my hand in the light. We used to fight for championships. Now we fight for us. And no matter what the world throws our way, I know one thing with absolute certainty. I don't just want to hold Ethan Reed. I always will. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, Please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.